he was laid at the rich man's gate. That is, he was not even strong enough to go and beg on the village green, in the village square. He is so ill, he has to be carried by others. You have to remember, of course, that in village life in Palestine in the first century, there were no social services. There was no clinic nearby, no medical authorities. So what the accepted custom was, when somebody just became too ill to look after themselves, the accepted custom was to bring them to the home or the homes of the richest person or people in the village. It was accepted that it was part of their social, cultural responsibility to use some of their excess wealth to look after the most indigent. Do you see? They would take them in, give them a room, make sure they were washed up. They had the servants to do it, and that they had enough to pay for a little extra food. In a small village, the poor people didn't have much. In any case, they had to be out in the fields. How could they do very much? So the villagers did what they were expected to do. They brought the man to the rich man's gate. They expected the rich man to do something about it. That was his social duty, let alone a responsibility for almsgiving that was laid on all Jews. The very fact that they lay this man at the gate shows that this man lives in a walled compound. In other words, he was not simply comfortably off. He was really well-to-do by first century standards. He lived in a walled compound, complete with gate. And then we're about to be introduced to dogs. Now, you must understand that in the first century, dogs were not kept as pets. People didn't keep a little labradoodle and stroke its ears and tickle its tummy and buy one of 57 different varieties of dog food. Dogs were either wild dogs, think Australian dingo, or they were working dogs, usually guard dogs. And it appears that that's the case here. They're guard dogs. That is, in this walled compound. How do you feed them if you can't go to the shop and buy bags of dried dog food or cans of canned food complete with chicken nuggets in it? Well, what you do is you feed them the scraps from the table. That has shown up elsewhere in the New Testament. If you recall Jesus' conversation with the Syrophoenician woman, even the dogs eat the scraps from the table, don't they? So this is part of the social structure of the day. But what do we read about Lazarus? At his gate, the rich man's gate, was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores, so he's ill, he's weak, he's poor, longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. He longed to eat the dog food. At least that. But the dogs came and licked his sores. Most of our English translations have, even the dogs came and licked his sores. The text doesn't say even, it says but. It's very clearly an adversative. He longed to eat the dog food, but at least the dogs came and licked his sores. They were the only ones that showed compassion here. The guard dogs came and licked his sores.